I've been really on my own when I think about it. Yeah, my house is not a home when I think about it. I've been feeling so alone when I think about it. Yeah, nobody really got me when I think about it. I'm really on my own when I think about it.
It's me, SimbaTV. Bang! What is good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Simba coming back here again with another reaction video for you guys today. For today's reaction video, we got Family Guy's biggest failure, The Cleveland Show. Now, man, y'all know I don't like the Cleveland Show hate, okay? When people be hating on the Cleveland Show, I never understand it because it was good to me. It was funny. I loved it. I loved it. But I guess not everybody feels that way, man. But we gonna jump up in it. Let's get it.
The list of memorable TV spin-offs is surprisingly short. For every great like Frasier, you have the likes of Joey or Planet Sheen. But where does The Cleveland Show fall? A spin-off from the popular show Family Guy, Cleveland Brown moved out of Quahog to Virginia and married his high school sweetheart Donna, becoming stepdad to her two kids, Rallo and Roberta. The show ran for 4 seasons and consisted of 88 episodes until it was cancelled in 2013.
You know, not a single person stopped watching because you left.
He doesn't have the guts to say anything back.
And it's been 8 years since the show ended, and it seems to have been cast into the void of the lost and forgotten. But why is that? Was it not very good, or was it a hidden gem that just didn't have the viewership?
It was a
and
hidden
if so,
gem!
Why weren't many people tuning into it? I want to investigate, and what does every good investigation need? Well, hours and hours sitting on the sofa watching every single episode, of course. So, here are my thoughts. Let's journey back to 2009, which is 14 years ago, and Jesus, I am getting old. When I first saw the adverts for The Cleveland Show, my initial reaction was exactly this.
What the hell? He's getting his own show?
I was baffled that out of all the characters in Family Guy, we got a Cleveland spin-off. Now, don't get me wrong, Cleveland definitely had his moments, but not even on the same wacky plane as Joe or Quagmire. Although in hindsight, it's now pretty obvious why a Quagmire spin-off simply wouldn't work.
Now can I have my own show, Peter?
Quagmire, you're a
But personally, I think a spin-off for Joe could work, and an animated police procedural would definitely be really interesting. Alright, maybe not. Anyway, but I admit Cleveland does make the most sense. He's more of a blank slate compared to the others, leaving a lot more room to develop his character, further than, well, this.
No.
And him saying this.
Oh, that's nasty.
Therefore, perhaps Cleveland had the most potential for longevity. By plucking him out of the background and putting the spotlight squarely on him, you can basically invent a whole new main character. Now, let's get to the pilot. In the pilot, Cleveland Brown reveals that his ex-wife Loretta got his house in the divorce. So he plans to move to California with his son Cleveland Jr., and right off the bat, there's a huge change in this kid. He's literally the polar opposite of how he was in Family Guy. He got bigger, slower, and is just not that lively anymore. This drastic change wouldn't be explained all the way until season 4, where it turns out that Junior is actually an undercover agent who knocked out and took Junior's entire life. And I do wonder if the writers had been sitting on this revelation for 4 whole seasons, but I doubt it. Anyway, on their way to California, Cleveland passes through his old hometown of Steuben, Virginia, and he bumps into his old flame Donna Tubbs. Now, what the pilot does do well is not only set up their romance in a short amount of time, but also introduce us to the supporting characters. We meet Rallo and Roberta, his odd neighbours, as well as Donna's ex-husband Robert. And hell, they even managed to carry their romance into a tight little wedding ceremony by the end of the very first episode. Overall, the pilot did do a solid job of setting up the premise and the characters without it feeling too rushed. So overall, I was pretty satisfied with it. But before we go any further, let's talk about its biggest positive, that damn catchy theme song.
Facts.
Even after 8 years, it's this bloody song that randomly gets stuck in my head. And it has to be said that the music in general is pretty good in the entire show. As you can probably tell from the many musical moments in Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane loves a good tune. And it seems he was able to give the Cleveland show this same attention when shaping its identity. So while Family Guy has a more show tune feel, the Cleveland show has layers of hip hop to give it its own feel and personality. This has been complemented by bringing on guest stars of the same genre, Nicki Minaj, Bruno Mars, and even Kanye West, who appeared in a few episodes. But listen.
I gotta go back and watch that. I didn't know Nicki was on there. What? Bruno too? Yeah, see, I did not know that. I must have missed that episode or something. Maybe I'll go back and watch all of them on my Patreon. So remember, man, y'all go subscribe to the Patreon. We got all the Family Guy, American Dad, and Cleveland show coming, man.
Said about him the better, to be honest. Now at first glance, you could assume that the characters are simple copy and pasted versions of the Griffins. An overweight blue-collar dad, a hot mom, the eldest teen daughter, a chubby son, and even a talking baby. But as it turns out, the families are very, very different. Whereas Meg is the social outcast, Roberta is a subjectively attractive and popular teen. Cleveland Jr. is certainly more personable than oddball Chris, with real interests and talents. And Rallo is just not a super genius evil baby like Stewie, planning and plotting to kill his mum every day. The Griffins are nothing short of dysfunctional, but Cleveland's family actually seems to get along fine. Sure, they bicker occasionally, but you can tell they certainly love each other in the end.
Thank you.
We love you too, Junior.
Like, let's take a look at this sweet scene between Cleveland and Roberta. Would we ever get that with Meg and Peter?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Meg, who let you back in the house?
And speaking of Roberta, she doesn't just have the generic stuck-up popular girl traits like you'd expect from shows that revel in stereotypes. She's quite three-dimensional. For example, in season 1's Love Roller Coaster, Roberta pretends to be a new student by wearing a fat suit to prove that she can get by without her looks alone. This naturally makes her a social outcast, and the only person who makes the real effort to be her friend is stepbrother Cleveland Jr.
That's the nicest thing anybody has said to me in days.
They become friends and she stands up for him against the bullies. But when it's time for her to return to her old life, she tells Junior that she's moving to Alaska to spare his feelings, even sending him a postcard to keep up the whole charade.
Isn't she great?
She's all right, Junior. She's all right.
She helps him again when he's bullied by giving him a makeover, but when he's mistaken for a lesbian, she willingly pretends to be his girlfriend at the big dance. At the same dance, the only real lesbian in the school is being shunned, so Roberta offers to dance with her, with this act encouraging some closeted gay students to finally come out. What I really liked about the Cleveland show was Cleveland and Donna's relationship, which...
See, this is what I'm talking about. The Cleveland show was so good, bro. Like, the plots, you know, the scenarios, the situations, and just everything that they put together was so good, but yet people just hate it for some odd reason. Like, it was so good, bro. I don't see how people can hate it. I really don't, man. It was funny, you know, like, it had some serious moments in there, but it was hitting on all cylinders. Such a great show.
was shown to be largely healthy and happy, whereas with Peter and Lois's, it's certainly not. And in general, I'm not a huge fan of the media constantly making the jokes that being married is the end all of someone's fun in life.
I've been dead since the minute I said I do.
And with Peter arguably having lots more fun with his friends when Lois isn't around just doesn't paint a healthy portrayal of marriage for those watching the show. But the Cleveland show gave us a much healthier and more mature representation of marriage. One episode that highlights this is season 2's Hot Cocoa Bang Bang. In it, Cleveland finds out about the blaxploitation films that Donna starred in back in the 70s. And at first she's embarrassed, but Cleveland is there to make her feel a whole lot happier about it.
I guess I was pretty badass up there.
And you still are.
And when director Robert Rodriguez threatens to release the movie worldwide, they team up to kick his ass like the power couple they are.
You're keeping the costume.
Now compare that to Peter and Lois, with her revealing her secret affairs and Peter straight up telling his wife that he finds her unattractive numerous times.
I haven't been attracted to Lois for a year and a half.
Look,
And come to think of it, every marriage in Family Guy is miserable. Bonnie was
that is true. See, I can see why people like Family Guy a little bit more because it's darker comedy, and I'm a lover. You feel me? Of dark comedy. Like, I love dark comedy. If it's not dark, you feel me? Don't tell me it. You know, because like I laugh at things like that. But when it comes to the Cleveland show, I think it was just so good to have that more of a like positive feeling. Like they didn't really have that many dark jokes, you know? Like Family Guy is like dark joke after dark joke after dark joke. And like I said, I can see why people like it way more because it is like it's not the norm. You know, it gives you a different look at things. Where the Cleveland show is like, it showcases you the positive of family, marriage, love, you know? That's cool to me. Like, I like it.
to straight up murder her husband at times. Watching through the whole show, there are definitely a few creative and fun episodes thrown into the mix too. For example, I really enjoyed Season 3's Die Semi-Hard, as it reminded me a lot of the early Family Guy Star Wars specials. P.S. I'm still waiting for this prequel, Seth.
What about the prequels?
I think the Cleveland show is gonna do those.
But despite these positives, the Cleveland show still suffers from being stuck in Family Guy's shadow because of its similarities. For example, like Peter, Cleveland also has a group of drinking buddies at the local bar and also has the occasional cutaway gag just like Family Guy. It just doesn't break enough away from the Family Guy formula to stand out on its own. Which wouldn't be a big issue if the secondary characters were just as memorable as, say, Joe, Quagmire, or heck, even Seamus or Tom Tucker. In fact, I can't actually remember any of the names of any of Cleveland's friends.
You're very
They're not
right.
awful, but just not very memorable. Which is surprising because another one of Seth MacFarlane's shows, American Dad, feels very distinct. And although the animation between Family Guy and American Dad is very similar, the latter still stands out on its own, with its cast of fun, unique, and memorable characters. And although set in the same universe, American Dad has really distinguished itself as one of the best adult animated shows today. In fact, there are many that feel that American Dad is a far superior show to Family Guy. But saying this, it did take American Dad a while to find its true voice. So I can only think that if the Cleveland show ran for a few more seasons, then perhaps it would have separated itself more from Family Guy. And I have to say I did notice a major improvement of the quality in the episodes after season 1, but despite the occasional standout episode, I didn't feel myself loving the show as a whole. I was hoping to go into this and realise just how underappreciated the Cleveland show was. Now don't get me wrong, it's not that it's awful or really, really bad, but the best word I could probably use is fine. It's certainly not as bad as other adult animated shows, and I'm looking at you, Paradise PD and Brickleberry, but it's—
What? Hold on, man. She don't like Paradise PD? Look, I rock with you, girl. I'm rocking with you. You feel me? You got some good content. I love your opinions, but you gotta take that back about Paradise PD, man. I've been watching that on Patreon. That stuff is hilarious. Hilarious. Now anything that you say bad about Cleveland show is invalid to me. Like, it's invalid.
just not memorable, or as funny as Family Guy, American Dad, or heck, even Bob's Burgers, which was airing at the same time. I think the biggest problem was that it just wasn't that funny. It certainly had its moments and I laughed out loud a few times, but that was few and far between. Most episodes didn't even get any kind of reaction from me at all, whether it was positive or negative. And many people seem to feel the same way as me, because people began tuning out of the show. It struggled to keep curious Family Guy fans watching, leading to a steady decline in ratings. So after 4 seasons, Fox cancelled the show in 2013. And as a result, Cleveland was brought back into Family Guy, making his return to Spooner Street at the end of season 12. When I first started this project, I spoke to my friend and biggest Family Guy fan I know, Tariq, and I asked him about his thoughts on the show, and he had a lot of opinions about how the writers have used, or rather not used, Cleveland's family since returning to Family Guy, so I thought I'd ask him to tell you about them himself.
Cool. Thanks for having me on, Lydia. So I want to talk about something that's been kind of bothering me on and off for the past 8 years. As someone who remembers when the Cleveland show first aired and marathoned all of Family Guy at the start of the pandemic like a sicko, I always found it a little bizarre how Family Guy is just destined to remove every trace of this show's existence. As soon as Cleveland pulled back up and he's black, yeah, whatever, his friends immediately roast this show.
Who did you make it for? Like some black guy who's never met another black guy?
And you could just feel the contempt from the writers that they had for this family. Roberta wasn't given a single line. Donna spanks Chris. We're doing the don't spank other people's kids plot in 2014. Alright. Stewie tells Rollo to get lost, and he literally never speaks in this entire franchise ever again after this episode. And that's the thing. Since this episode, the writers have pretty much forgotten Cleveland's family even exists, only ever including them in typical family gatherings.
Man.
And even then you have to pause the screen to spot them like some kind of sick Where's Waldo game. Rollo, who was full of personality in the Cleveland show, now never says a single word and is pushed to the background. The same goes for Roberta. Not a single line. And I guess I get it, right? Like, two different teams. One has to inherit a bunch of characters that they don't know or care about. But I feel like there's a ton of opportunities for them. Roberta becoming Meg's friend is one that's so obvious. You could play off their differences with her guiding Meg to become more popular. They do something with Rollo and Chris for like 3 minutes in that return episode. That could have been a whole new character relationship. Donna does occasionally appear, but nowhere near as multidimensional as she was. Once a lead, she's now reduced to being the stereotypical sassy black homegirl, the third girlfriend behind Bonnie. All that evolution that these characters were given over 4 years was just erased by the writers. And the characters they don't use, they kill off. In Candy, Quahog, Marshmallow, Cleveland says in one joke that Donna's mom died, and later in that episode he says that the funeral went well. So that's nice, I guess. In a little short at the end of Baby Stewie, Cleveland gets a text from Donna that says that his mom died, only for it to be reconfirmed in Pete Terminator. Aside from Cleveland's daddy being seen, not heard in the season 19 finale, they go out of their way to let us know that they hate every decision that this show made.
I tell you what, first guy that lets me out gets his own spin-off. Not you, Cleveland.
The Cleveland show pretty much rebooted Cleveland's entire character and personality, only for borderline all of that to be erased by the show's end. And man, is that weird. As far as how I feel about the Cleveland show, I don't really know how to answer that. On one hand, right, like I think it's a misguided attempt from majority white writers to commentate on a culture that they really just do not understand. On the other hand though, when they're not doing that and just write these characters as people, I think it's really fascinating to see them pick up these pieces and create something. A character whose only joke was that he was slow spoken suddenly needed more. He needed to become a lead and they did it somehow. I think from a media analysis standpoint, it's just cool for that. Sometime this year, I want to drop my own retrospective on the show, just because I'm just really fascinated by what it is and why it is. So subscribe to my channel for when I drop that. Anyway, thanks for letting me rant, Lydia. I've been thinking about this for a while and it was fun to get it out somehow.
Thanks, Tariq, and I have to totally agree with you. It's honestly baffling to me that Family Guy already has these rich and creative characters to use, but they just don't for some reason. Could it be that the producers seem to resent or maybe are embarrassed about the Cleveland show and its abrupt cancellation? And is it possible that they see Rollo, Roberta and Junior as a reminder of that failure? But come on guys, what do you think? Let me know in the...
I still think the Cleveland show was pretty damn good, man. Like, I don't understand how people hate on it so much. Like, it's... Like I said, it's not great. It's not great. But it's pretty good, man. Pretty funny. Has some pretty funny moments in there, man. But if you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button for me. Thank you guys for commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.